Hi, guys. Welcome back to Let's Heal Together. I'm Amelia, and if you're healing from narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, or trying to rebuild your life after emotional abuse, you're in the right place. Every week, we break down the psychology behind abuse, trauma bonds, and recovery so you can stop blaming yourself and finally start trusting yourself again. Let's get into today's video. Have you noticed something strange? The longer you've been healing, the less interested you are in dating. At first, you thought something was wrong with you. Maybe you've become too independent, too guarded, too picky. Maybe you've even wondered, am I ever going to love someone again? But what if none of those things are true? What if dating doesn't feel harder because you're healing incorrectly? What if it feels harder because healing has changed what your nervous system is willing to accept? Today, I want to explain why so many survivors struggle with dating after narcissistic abuse and why that might actually be one of the biggest signs that you're healing. Chapter 1: Your definition of normal changed. When you're living inside an abusive relationship, chaos becomes familiar. You get used to emotional highs and lows, walking on eggshells, waiting for the next argument, wondering which version of them you're coming home to. Your nervous system adapts not because it likes chaos, but because it has to. For a long time, stress feels normal. Then you leave, slowly. Your life becomes quieter. You don't jump every time your phone vibrates. You don't rehearse conversations in your head. You don't spend hours trying to decode someone's mood. For the first time in a long time, peace starts to feel familiar. And here's the problem: dating often interrupts that peace, not because dating is bad, but because your nervous system has finally learned what calm feels like. Now, anything that threatens that calm feels much louder than it used to. Chapter 2: You're no longer chasing potential. One of the hardest habits to break after narcissistic abuse is falling in love with someone's potential. You stop seeing who they are today and start imagining who they could become. You tell yourself they've had a hard childhood, they're under stress, they'll change. They didn't mean it. Sound familiar? Healing changes that. You stop dating someone's future and start paying attention to their present. You no longer ask, who could they become? You ask, who are they when no one's watching? That's a completely different question. And it eliminates a lot of people very quickly. Chapter 3: Your peace became your standard. This is one of the biggest shifts nobody talks about. When you've spent years in survival mode, being alone can feel terrifying. But then something unexpected happens. You begin enjoying your own company. You wake up without anxiety. You decorate your home the way you like. You watch what you want, eat what you want, laugh without worrying about someone's reaction. Your house becomes peaceful. Your evenings become peaceful. Your mind becomes quieter. And suddenly, being single doesn't feel like punishment anymore. It feels like peace. Now, here's the important part: anyone you date has to compete, not with another person, but with your peace. That's why dating feels harder. Your standards didn't become impossible. Your nervous system simply stopped confusing chaos with chemistry. Chapter 4: Red flags aren't invisible anymore. Have you ever noticed things you used to overlook now stand out immediately? Someone constantly interrupts you. They make little jokes at your expense. They're rude to a waiter. They love bomb you after 2 dates. They ignore your boundaries. Years ago, you might have explained those behaviors away. Now, your brain pauses, not because you're judging people, because you've lived through what happens when small red flags are ignored. That's not bitterness, that's wisdom earned through experience. Healing doesn't make you suspicious of everyone, it helps you recognize patterns sooner. And recognizing a pattern doesn't mean you have to accuse someone. And sometimes it simply means you choose not to ignore what you've already seen. Chapter 5: Love feels quieter than trauma. This one surprises a lot of survivors. Many people mistake intensity for connection. Butterflies, obsession, constant texting, emotional roller coasters. But after healing, you start realizing something. Real safety doesn't usually feel exciting at first. It feels calm, predictable. respectful. And if you've spent years associating chaos with love, that calm can actually feel unfamiliar. Sometimes survivors walk away from healthy people not because they're boring, but because peace doesn't create the same adrenaline that dysfunction once did. Healing means learning that love doesn't have to keep you guessing. Sometimes the healthiest relationship you'll ever have is the one that lets your nervous system finally relax. If dating feels harder than it used to, don't immediately assume something is wrong with you. Ask yourself a different question. Have my standards changed? Has my nervous system finally learned the difference between excitement and anxiety? Am I protecting my peace instead of chasing approval? Because healing isn't about becoming harder to love, it's about becoming harder to manipulate. And those are two very different things. Before you go, I want you to watch the video that's on your screen next because it connects perfectly with today's conversation. If you've ever wondered why you're so good at spotting red flags or why your nervous system is always scanning people before you trust them, that video will help explain what's happening beneath the surface. And if you're rebuilding your life after narcissistic abuse, I'd love for you to subscribe and become a part of our Let's Heal Together community. Every week, we explore the psychology of trauma, healing, and how to rebuild a life that finally feels safe. Remember this: healing isn't about finding someone to complete you, it's about becoming so at peace with yourself that the next person you choose adds to your peace instead of taking it away. I'll see you in the next video. I want to share why this subject matters so deeply to me. I experienced both emotional and physical abuse in my marriage. For a long time, I didn't fully understand what was happening. I thought I could fix it or that somehow it was my fault. It wasn't until I left and had time away that I could see the pattern clearly: the control, the isolation, the fear, and the way I was made to question my own reality. What happened to me was not my fault, and if any of this feels familiar to you, it is not your fault either. Some people do not have our best interests at heart. I made this video to help you recognize the signs sooner, trust what you're experiencing, and know that you deserve safety, respect, and support.